3 years ago, I was a mess. I didn't want to leave my house. I would have crippling anxiety. I was dealing with another shingles flare in my eye. I was desperate to change after I ate something that I just reacted to. So I started searching on YouTube for elimination diets. I was familiar with kind of some autoimmune elimination diets, but not really. And I found the Lion diet, and I found, pretty strict carnivore diet. And I did that for a little, I did the Lion diet for 2 weeks, and then I shifted into more of a strict carnivore diet, and I was eating meat, mostly beef, chicken, eggs. I was drinking coffee. I did not eliminate coffee. I eliminated all junk food, all sugars, all vegetables and fruits and grains. So, and I really healed. In 90 days, I decided to reintroduce bacon, and I did that successfully. After 90 days, I had way fewer sugar cravings. My anxiety had lifted. I wasn't dealing with racing thoughts, intrusive thoughts at night. I was sleeping better. And most importantly, in my case, my inflammation had lowered significantly in 90 days. I don't remember how much weight I had lost. I was 50 pounds heavier 3 years ago. So my hormones stabilized, and I had a lot of healing. And now I have, over the last 3 years, I have shifted, a little bit along the carnivore diet spectrum. Whole foods, heavy protein, animal-based. I don't know what the best label is for it, and I don't think it matters. I eat mostly meat, and I eat dairy, and I get lots of fats. I do eat cottage cheese, and I do eat Greek yogurt. I have been eating Greek yogurt for a while, and I haven't had any kind of flares, and I haven't had any negative reactions to that. And I didn't realize it, but I had inadvertently had fruit, tomatoes. I have had a little bit of tomato sauce in the last year, a couple of times, and like I said, it didn't occur to me because I don't think about, oh, this is what I'm not eating. But I've had carnivore lasagna, and it has tomato sauce in it. And I've had chili, and I put tomato paste in it, just tomato paste out of a can, the Hunt's, brand. And I have been fine. I have never been dogmatic about this way of eating. I've never been puritanical. I have always said, eat what works for you and what makes you feel your best, and it has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. It's so irrelevant to me. And if you're, you have to work with what you have, I have certain things that, might work for me and might not work for me. I don't love vegetables, so I don't miss onions and garlic and those kinds of things. I don't miss salad, and I don't miss fruit because I never really liked fruit. I liked sugar and processed food. So, and I do better if I just don't have that at all. Now, I have had a little bit of sugar. I've had chocolate in the last 6 months, and I've been okay with it. It has not sent me off the rails. I'm not saying that you need to do that. It's something that I have done, and I have been okay with. I'm able to, I don't know. That's where we are. I have had alcohol a couple of times in the last 3 years, and I've been okay. And actually, it doesn't have the draw that it used to have. Used to enjoy, wine, and I don't think about it at all. Well, I think about it occasionally, very occasionally, usually at group, family things, special occasions, that kind of thing. And of course, when, if other people are drinking wine, enjoying a glass of wine, I might think, oh, I could, but that could be, I just don't. So I just don't consume alcohol. And that's not to say I'm never going to again, because I don't like to say never. And I don't like the idea of, saying I'm never going to have something again. But I don't see it in my future. I certainly don't see it the way I used to, consume alcohol, which was every day. I do tend to be more of an abstainer than a moderator. So I do better not having it at all. If it's out of sight, out of mind. That's one of the reasons I think I did so well and I was so successful with the carnivore diet and staying on track for as long as I needed to be, because there were a lot of factors. It wasn't just one thing. I had suffered from a lot of chronic health issues when I was younger, and I had always been the person to just like take a pill. The doctor say, okay, take this pill. And then I found myself taking, multiple pills, and, that's just your age. So once I kind of learned about more intuitiveness about, what makes me feel good and what doesn't, and then I made that link of, oh, okay, the things I'm consuming, the food and the alcohol, are not, making me feel great, and maybe attributing to my health issues. And it wasn't just all one thing. It wasn't all plants. It wasn't one, it was a complex situation, because we are complex human beings. And I already knew that I didn't know that I could get better. I had no idea that, eliminating all of these foods and doing a strict elimination diet for 90 days and longer, because I did end up going, I still eat a pretty strict, I still only eat a few things, 6, 7, 8 things, and usually very few ingredients, and all whole food, and mostly meat and fat. Okay, so the carbs that I eat are very low, and they're from, dairy, animal products. So it's cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, occasionally tomato sauce, fruit. I just haven't ever been a person. I've always been a person that's like, live and let live. I don't care. And there was a time, I think it was about 9 months ago, 6 months ago, I can't remember, that I started getting these thoughts about, oh, well, if I eat something that's not carnivore, I got kind of caught up in the idea of the label. And it's probably one of the reasons that a lot of the big influencers talk about, a proper human diet or an ancestral diet or all these labels. It doesn't matter. The label doesn't matter. My diet is what I eat. And I've talked to you about what I've eaten for the last couple years. I started carnivore in January of 2023. I started learning about intermittent fasting 3 years ago, and at the end of 2022. And so the labels don't matter. Nobody's getting any kind of an award for restricting more or being able to do more or less. I have no problem with what people eat. I don't care. And it has nothing to do with me. I just like to share, these things really helped my life. And the biggest bang for my buck, the best feedback that I started to get was when I changed my food and I strictly eliminated all of the inflammatory, blood sugar dysregulation foods. And I added, I got down to the most basic, and I started to listen to my body. And I don't say that everybody should do that for the rest of their lives. And I haven't said that for a long time, because you get caught up in these labels and these tribes, and it's not helpful, because some people might look at it and think I could never do that. And some people see me now 3 years after a lot of work and lifestyle changes, and really being mindful of what I'm consuming in every way, and see, oh, she's had it easy. And I promise you, the woman that 3 years ago that started this had no idea the impact it would have. And that woman did not have it easy. I was at the low. I was 50 pounds overweight. My anxiety was through the roof. You know, I had stopped being involved in things, and I had withdrawn. And, you know, when I'd have anxiety at night and racing thoughts and couldn't fall asleep because of the intrusive anxiety, and I mentioned it to my nurse practitioner, she said, oh, that's normal for your age. That anxiety and panic attacks are normal. Now, I never had like an actual panic attack, but I would get panicky. I could hardly ride in the car. And we drove, you know, we did road trips like on average once a month. And, you know, that's a lot. It was just a lot. I had started to, you know, think, oh, I can't go get my hair done. That's why I stopped coloring my hair and went natural, because I didn't want to drive across town anymore, because the day before my hair appointment, I was getting my hair colored once a month, and the days leading up to those appointments, I would like think, okay, well, I'll drive this path, well, what time of day is it? Oh, this school zone, that kind of thing. And I would I felt like a crazy person. And that started to lift pretty quickly. And I'm glad that I documented and started making videos at, I think it was 3 months in that I did my first video. And I have some, you know, recorded footage of myself before, because my confidence started to grow, and I did start just to feel better. And like, I thought, well, I can share with other people what worked for me, because I had significant health issues. You know, I'd struggled with Meniere's disease for 14 years. Now, I no longer struggled with that when I started this way of eating, because I had a labyrinthectomy, which is they drilled out my inner ear, and that put me into remission. There is a group of people in the Meniere's, you know, that suffer with Meniere's disease, that, and my specialist told me I could present with Meniere's in my other ear, and that hasn't happened, and I don't want that to happen. And so I like keeping my, you know, inflammation low. If it's from inflammation, I don't know what the cause of my Meniere's is. Nobody knows the cause of it. And technically, do I still have it? Yes, because, you know, there's no cure. Let's make it known. I also suffered with thyroid issues when we were first starting our family. So I had hyperthyroidism, and I had Graves' disease, which is autoimmune. And so I did a treatment that destroyed the function of my thyroid when I was 30. And I've had 2 children. And the baby that was the reason, you know, we started our family, the baby just turned 19. So I've lived with a lot of years of taking medication and taking a pill and doing what the doctors told me. And so then when I started developing what we think is inflammation, it's definitely inflammation in my eye. I have uveitis in my eye, and we never could determine what the cause was. What's the root cause? I don't know. Nobody knows, but maybe it's shingles. I've had lots of viral weird things and lots of gut issues, and so maybe it's a shingles flare. So that's what the specialist for my eye, you know, talked about. And you guess what the treatment is? There's really nothing they can do. You can take eye drops for sure, and to help with their steroid eye drops, and you take them. The first time I had uveitis, it was the worst case. It took me 8 weeks to heal, and it was a pretty severe episode. It was my worst. My first one was my worst. Is this thing on? So all that to say, I have gotten to a place, I'm bounds and leaps ahead of where I was 3 years ago. And it just started with desperation and what can I do to just feel better and get this inflammation to calm down, because I'm already deaf in this ear, and I didn't want my vision to be affected, and I didn't want my brain health to be affected. And it's so much better. My mental clarity is better. My brain fog is better. We've talked about that. I can think clearly. I can record a video just off the cuff, and, you know, just don't have to do much editing. I might not edit this at all. I might just post it. I can do what I want. So I just wanted to share, these are things that helped me. You know, I got more sunlight and daylight, and I started sleeping better because I could fall asleep without these intrusive thoughts plaguing me of like out of control, like what if this tree falls on our house, and like, you know, outrageous intrusive thoughts. What if the kids fall down the stairs? That's not, you know, it was crippling anxiety because it was affecting how I lived my life, and it was affecting my sleep. And so I've done all of the treatments that the doctor said. And so finally, when I was able to think and do some research and think, hey, I'll just try it, it's just food, I got so much better. And of course, my health is not perfect and I have other things, but when it comes down to it, I'm not scared of food anymore. I'm not emotionally attached to food anymore. I can live my life and not be chained to food. You know, does that mean I never get bored with my food? No, of course I do sometimes. And then there are little tips and tricks to, you know, to change it up if you're a variety. For the most part, I do eat the same thing, and I don't have a problem with that because I see food differently. I do see it more as fuel. And there are things that I used to eat that I don't even consider food. Okay. But my life isn't perfect. Of course it's not, but it's so much better. And a lot of that is because I can just think clearly and think I can make better decisions. Something else, and I remember because I have this sweatshirt on, and 3 years ago I did a video, 4 years ago I did a video, and it was something, I don't even think I think it's private now, just because it was something about eBay when we did some reselling. But I wore this sweatshirt, and I used to put on so much makeup to cover, you know, like I still kind of have like a little bit of a rosacea mask. I don't know. I've always had it. I found pictures from when I was in my 20s. I don't know if it's a rosacea mask. It's just what my skin looks like, but I don't wear makeup at all anymore. Not to say that I'll never wear makeup again. I just don't wear foundation or concealer. And I had pretty clear skin as a teenager. I did not have a lot of acne. I didn't really start having skin issues until I was in my 30s, and I was postpartum, and I got some, you know, like I forget what it's called, the masking. And then when I was in my 40s and my blood sugar was mismanaged, you know, was you know, I had a lot of discoloration here. And I do have rosacea, but I don't have acne. I started having acne in my 40s, and, you know, oh, that's just normal, is what the doctors said. I did go to a dermatologist about it, and they said, we can't do anything about your rosacea. Here's some topical gel to put on that will just shrink the blood vessels or whatever. So, but I was so insecure about the way my skin looked that I would wear a lot of concealer and a lot of foundation to cover it up. And I don't do that anymore. I just put, you know, moisturizer on my face. I just wash it with soap. Like I use tallow-based soap and facial moisturizer. So I stopped liking the way, and I have tried to wear makeup a couple of times since then, since I've been carnivore, and my skin has gotten better, but I don't like the way it feels. And, you know, and a lot of times my glasses kind of cover up that mask or whatever. So yeah, carnivore diet just improved. When I reduced and eliminated carbs, my health got a lot better. And I'm just sharing, you know, what I've dealt with and what I've struggled with and what helped and what doesn't help. I'm not dogmatic. Nobody's getting an award for what you eat or what you don't eat. And nobody's getting, you know, no certificates. That, you know, it's not a publisher's clearinghouse. There's no trophies. It doesn't matter. I just don't understand the dogma and the puritanicalness. I don't think plants are trying to kill me. I try not to assign value to food because, I mean, food is fuel, and what you eat and what you don't eat, it's so irrelevant to me. We don't put value on things like that. You know, it's kind of like money. Money is a tool. Food is a tool. And yes, I do think some foods are more nourishing than others. But when you start to conflate, you know, a person's worth or like I was saying, oh, well, maybe I'm not as good as someone else. That's just, I don't think that's a great idea. And our bodies are resilient and changing, ever changing. They're going to change and get used to something, and they might need something differently, a different ratio. But if you've been doing this for years and you're having great results and you feel good, great. Keep it up. Keep up the good work, bub. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.